conversation. If at another's house you should break anything, do not appear to notice it. Your hostess, if a lady, would take no notice of this calamity, nor say, as it is sometimes done by ill-bred persons, oh, it is of no consequence. That is from a handbook of etiquette for ladies, which I thought was kind of funny
What
to not
year?
fess up. If you don't fess up to breaking something,
Uh-huh. What
that's
year
kind of
is
weird.
that?
I don't know. It didn't say, but I thought it was kind of funny. We're going to talk about manners today. Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. My name is Carla Moore, and I'm with my dear friend Kathy Pollard. I'm actually not with her. She's across the country, but we get together every week and we talk about things that we find interesting and things that we need to work on. And hopefully, we don't need to work on too many of these, but
We
maybe
need
we
to
do.
work on our manners.
We need to work on our manners. But I thought it would be just kind of a fun and a lighthearted discussion to talk about things that I don't know. Sometimes I think things are a given, but maybe they're not to you. And so we may have some differences and some similarities. And so we're just going to talk about that today.
Mhm.
But before we do, we normally just kind of have a conversation. So tell me what's been going on, what's new. You're finished with VBS and you're in the middle of a meeting in
Mhm.
Portland, right? With Neil?
Yes, we finished VBS and we started a gospel meeting in Portland, Tennessee, where Bud and Christy are on Sunday. And um, what day? This is Wednesday as we're recording. So tonight's the last night. So it's a sweet congregation, good singing, very friendly. Plus, we've enjoyed getting to see Bud and Christy every night. So it's been a real pleasure to be a part of that. But in a minute, I do want to share something that I've learned while I've been there, but I'll come back around to that. So
Okay.
yeah, we've
Okay.
been doing that, and we've been helping Dale and Janelle move into their house in Bowling Green and doing some babysitting and all kinds of busy things, but fun things, and
Mhm.
being rained on like crazy.
Still?
Yes. Rain, rain, rain. In fact, it has rained so much. I have heard now that this is the most rain Kentucky has received like ever
Wow.
on record. And so Neil wasn't able, he mows on the weekends. He wasn't able to mow this past weekend because of all the rain. And we were helping Dale and Janelle move and stuff like that. And so it didn't get mowed till yesterday. Gary mowed for us, and it was just 3 days later than normal, and it looks like a jungle. I mean, the weeds up by the driveway fence are almost people tall. I mean, that's how fast we one of our members, I think Neil said it was Harold Nix, mowed twice this week because
Mhm.
of all the rain just growing everything so fast. But unfortunately, nobody ever just drops in. Nobody ever just comes. I mean, hardly anybody ever comes out to see us because we live out in the country. But unfortunately, we had in the past week like 3 people come out, which is so sweet. And they've come out for sweet things. Roger and Joyce Johnson picked up some corn and drove it all the way out here to deliver it to us
Fresh corn.
instead of
Oh,
giving it to
yum.
us at church. And I think it's because, it tastes better
Hmm.
fresh.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, Kevin Eubanks texted and they had been putting up corn and they'd already done dozens and dozens of them and had 3 dozen left and they were just tired of fooling with it. And he said, "Do you want this? We'll drive it over there." And I was like, "Sure." So that was the day when we're in the middle of helping Dale and Janelle and stuff.
Mhm.
So they came over and brought 3 dozen ears of corn already shucked and silked
Oh,
and
wow.
clean. Literally, all I had to do was scrape it off the cob.
Gift.
But he came with his daughter, so they came. And then yesterday, while I was at the meeting last night, I got a text from Chrissy Johnson, and she said, "Are you home? I want to drop something off." And I said, "No, I'm at a meeting." And she was like, "I dropped it on your porch, and I'm going,
Like
because
corn too?
yeah, because Chrissy Johnson I mean, Gary had mowed, but it's such a big job, you really can't do everything in one day. So none of the weed eating has been done, and like the mowing clippers, mow clippings, grass clippings are still all over the carport and stuff like that. So anyway, I was like, "Oh no." I was just like, "I'm just so embarrassed for you to see our yard." But I will show you. This is what she dropped off.
Aw, those are
And
beautiful.
she planted a great big old field of flowers and now has a business where you can come out and cut your own flowers. You just bring your own
Wow.
vase. And
Mm-hmm.
I think she's only charging like $7.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And it's a Venmo.
Colorful.
Yeah, you just scan it. So this one has zinnias and sunflowers and cosmos and black-eyed Susans. So, I mean, I love this sunflower right here. I love that color,
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
burnt orange.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, I just thought she shares pictures of the field. It's just so beautiful and what a fun idea. And there's no hours, like you just show up whenever you want. And people are sending her pictures of the bouquets that they're putting together. And so anyway, it's really fun.
Good
So
idea.
friends, if you want to check it out, Chrissy Johnson, I think she put information about it on Facebook and very cool.
Well, you think it's bad manners to not have your yard mowed when people come over? We've been gone for a week, and we on Saturday night we're having a 90th birthday party for one of my favorite people in the world. His name's Clinton Rutherford. And
At your house?
when he got married, it was after John and I were married. It was his his wife had died, I believe, and anyway, he was remarrying, and I stood in for her. I was the bride because it was, the bad luck thing about being the bride on your rehearsal night. Just a silly thing that we, have done before. But
Mm.
so we always joke about he's my other husband. But anyway, we've been gone for a week, and so and we've had lots of rain right before we left, and we have a jungle out there. And Jake and Liz are coming today. They're on their way right now, so I'm super excited about that. The kids, of course, and I'm thinking, but when are we going to mow between now and Saturday night? Because they're going to be here until Saturday. So
Oh,
hopefully it's not bad manners if it's not done. John will probably get it done at some point, but I guess
yeah.
people will still love you even if your yard's not mowed, right?
I think they will. I think
Hopefully.
hopefully. And if
Mhm.
not, they'll never say so.
Because it's bad manners.
Bad manners.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. Well, I'm looking forward to it and trying to decide what kind of decorations and what to feed everybody, and just going to be like 10 people. He was one of my dad's best friends, so I think it'll be fun to do.
Well, happy birthday to him, and we can't wait to hear what you come up with.
Yeah,
Party menus are fun.
yeah, they are.
And you're a
Yeah.
good cooker too, so
Good cooker.
good cooker.
Thanks.
That's what Carl always said, cooker. His
Yeah,
email for the longest time was Carl the cooker because he liked to cook when he was a kid.
he's a sweetheart. So John had a fender bender last week.
Oh no.
Yes, he did. And he felt terrible about it because it was one of those situations where you're trying to merge and it was traffic and it was way up North Austin. And so he's looking back, trying to make sure nobody's coming. And when he gunned it because the car ahead of him had started moving, but apparently he had to stop again. So anyway, it wasn't terrible. Nobody was hurt, but the our truck was all banged up on one side, and well, the corner, one of the front right light, the headlight and the bumper and all. And then the guy's truck in front of him, not terrible, but enough to it's just an inconvenience when something like that happens.
Yeah.
And we have
Ugh.
insurance, of course, and all that. But this was last Monday, and we were leaving Tuesday for PTP.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it was Monday afternoon too, and we were leaving early Tuesday morning. So what are we gonna do? But he got it all worked out and found a place here in town, Capital Collision or something like that. And there was a enterprise rental place next door. And he came home in a BMW SUV.
Fancy.
I know. He said the only thing they had was like a Jeep truck and this BMW SUV. And those Jeeps to me, they've never been very comfortable, I don't think anyway. And anyway, the BMW is a pretty sweet little ride. It's got a yeah, so we've had fun in that car. We've been a little self-conscious, like, we this is you pull up to PTP in a BMW. This is not we want to say this is not our car. It's not our car. It's a rental car. And we
I'd have
didn't
the
have a choice.
windows rolled down, like waving at everybody. Hey!
No, you didn't. Yeah. But it also like drove us crazy too because it always locks the door. So if you get out of the door
Hmm.
and you want to get something out of the back seat, it's already locked. So constantly having to unlock the door. We only have one key.
Oh,
So paranoid about that, like we're gonna lose that somewhere in Branson, Missouri. And also just the fact that it's a BMW, you kind of feel like people are gonna scratch it or do something.
No
And
fender benders, please.
yes, no more.
Don't
We've
run your
already,
shopping cart into our car.
yeah. And last night, I didn't even tell John this. He was talking on the phone, but we were getting close to home and there's lots of construction on 290. And I was sitting at a light and there was a driveway of some kind of business behind me and a truck wanted past me, wanted behind me to get into the lane. And we were sitting there and I felt the car like move. And I thought it was just, because it's got a weird acceleration kind of thing, like you have to sort of
Mhm.
push hard to get it to go. And I think he must have bumped us with his truck. And I looked at it later. I couldn't stop. I watched to see, it was a white truck and I couldn't memorize the license plate. Don't know if it had done any good anyway. But when I got to look, there was no damage or anything. But just it's nerve-wracking being on
Mm.
the roads. It's crazy.
Yeah. And some people are just mean anyway when they
Mhm.
see a
Exactly.
luxury car. And, I think those vehicles tend to get targeted when it comes to being keyed and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun. I think his truck's supposed to be ready Friday. And I really do like you can step on the gas and it goes. And that's been kind of fun. But it's
Well,
not really any different than my car. I like my car just as well. So
yeah.
yeah.
Good
What else is
attitude.
going on?
I wanted to share Kim Moyers. She listens to our podcast every week and is very encouraging to us. She says something to both of us on the regular about it. She's very sweet. And she made some natural skincare products.
Really?
Yeah. She
Oh,
made a moisturizer. It's really, really smooth and smells good. And I don't remember all the ingredients in it. But, and then she made some Boo Boo Balm. It's like a natural version of Neosporin,
yeah.
it's safe for children and things. And she gave us a jar of both of them. And I didn't even know that she was into that kind of stuff. So it was really exciting, but I didn't know that she had that skill. So that was really sweet and thoughtful. And she said that the moisturizer, I think everybody in her family uses it, including the men. So that's how much they love it and that's how good it is for
Wow.
your skin. Yeah, I'll see if I can remember. I think she texted the ingredients. I'll see if I can remember to go back and share what else she put in there on the Facebook page. But
Okay.
I did want to say I got to play some pickleball again yesterday with Hillary, and we went to a different location. We went to a gym. And I've been to a gym before that opens for pickleball in Portland with my sister. Well, this was a completely different experience. The one in Portland is much more low key, and there might be, maybe four other people there, all usually older than us. You know,
You can feel
no
pretty good about yourself.
pressure, no pressure whatsoever. Well, this gym it's big and bright, and there's tons of courts. And all the courts have bleachers behind them where the people sit waiting for their turn
And so they're
to
watching.
rotate in. And they're all much more serious.
Oh,
So we walked in there and we're like, ooh,
yeah.
but we thought we would find a court off somewhere by ourselves, but no. There's none. You can't do that. And
Hmm.
so then we're walking around looking at all of them, trying to see which one looked the least intimidating because there were people spiking the ball. It's pickleball. There were
Yeah.
people spiking the ball. There were people like diving for the ball and looking all serious and having the gear. And we're walking past them. Nope. Nope. Nope.
I think I'd have gone and find another place to play.
So we found one kind of like the very last one that we chose only because there was nobody sitting in the bleachers.
Hmm.
So we thought there's a good chance of us being able to play without at least somebody watching us. And we had to tell them that we weren't very good, and they were really nice. And they really were. They were really nice. And that time Hillary and I were partners playing against somebody else we lost. And then we move to another court to rotate in with another one. Well, this time it was a couple of men and much more serious. And one of them was older than us, and he was nice. He kept saying things like, good try. The
Yeah.
other one was 41, but he was one of those guys that literally, he was my partner. He was one of those guys that when he went for the ball, he slid down on his knees with his back leaned all the way back, almost touching the floor
Oh,
to
come on,
swing. And I just looked at, and he got it. He got it. It went over the net. And I just looked at him and I was like, wow, that was fancy.
please.
Meanwhile, I'm forgetting the rules, like don't
Mhm.
step in the kitchen or both teams have to let it bounce before you hit it. And I'm all proud of myself for getting to a ball and zinging it back. And he's like, you didn't let it bounce.
Whatever.
And I said, oh, there's so many rules to remember. And he goes, not really.
Well, okay. Have you seen, I mean, there are some funny memes and little shorts and reels and stuff like that about people that take it too seriously, and they're hilarious. And he sounds like one of those guys.
Well, he kept trying to tell us what to do, like don't keep your elbows in and so it was so stressful. It really was. I mean, Hillary and I were talking about it afterwards. It was probably good because, or maybe that was Neil I was talking to, but because it kind of forced me to play better and play harder. And when it's just me and her, it doesn't really matter. We just kind of laugh and chase the ball.
Yeah.
But it kind of forced me to up my game, literally. But at the same, I mean, the whole time we were out there, my heart was like this. I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
what
not
I'm
fun
doing and
to
y'all
me.
do. And yeah.
I want games to be fun. And I mean, I know you compete in some things, but if it's not fun, it just kind of ruins it for everybody.
It was fun when it was over. I mean, I was glad I did it when it was over, but I was just a nervous wreck because everybody looked so good and they were on their cute little outfits, and I'm like going,
Hmm.
but it
Yeah.
was, I was glad we did it. So. And Jenny Neville, who also is a podcast listener, said that she wants to join us. She's never played, but she wants to learn how to play pickleball, and so she wants to ask us to let her know when we're going to play. But she's sporty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's young and sporty, so she'll just be she's a coach, so she'll be one of those people that picks it up and plays
Mhm.
good. And
Before long, y'all are going to have a Cumberland Trace team, pickleball team.
now that would be fun. Yeah,
Hmm.
that would be fun. So,
It's a fun game.
trying to see. Is there anything else? Oh, I talked about our AC.
Yeah.
Remember? I think didn't I share that on the last episode
Yeah,
of,
you were upstairs last time.
yeah, so they told us we would need to replace the whole thing, so we were going to do some comparison shopping because that's kind of expensive. And so anyway, it was another situation up here of it's not what you know, it's who you know. Kevin Eubanks knew a guy and he
Hmm.
said, I'm gonna send him over. And he came over and he was much more diligent and checking every little thing and ended up saying, I don't know why they told you this because I don't think this is the problem at all. And he wanted to know if we had experienced water damage lately. And he said, I think your motherboard got wet and I think you need to replace your motherboard. And so he said, I'll order one. And if that's not the fix, I'll just keep it because I'll use it for somebody else later anyway. To make a long story short, he came back out a couple of days later. So our AC went out on Monday and we finally got it fixed on Saturday. So
It's a long week.
it was a long, hot week, yeah. But the grand total for both of his visits out here, the part, installation and everything, labor and everything was $500. You
Wow.
were being quoted 15,000.
Yeah. That's
So
irritating. I mean, that's wonderful, but it's irritating that it's like you wonder if people are being honest.
well, and especially when you don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know anything about air conditioners, and it's the hot time of year. So, of course, we're going to be like, whatever you need to do, just do it.
Mhm. Yeah, and they know that.
They do. They know that. And so we were just so grateful. It was really a Jehovah Jireh moment. God provided. And it's kind of funny. It's all perspective. Because if at the beginning of the week somebody had said, you're going to need to fork out $500 this week, that you weren't planning on it, we would have been like, what?
Yeah.
But compared to what we thought we were going to have to do,
Mhm.
actually, the guy charged us less than that. Neil was like, here, let me just round it up. And,
Hmm.
it was just so grateful. And
Yeah.
the guy was nice and honest and friendly. And he said, and then whenever you do need to replace the unit, and he said, this particular unit doesn't cost much more than $3,000 or $4,000.
Wow.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah. My brother had a air conditioning business for years. He just sold it recently, but I remember being interested, because I worked for him for a while and I would do the paperwork and so I'd see these terms and I knew a little bit about it, just a tiny bit about it. But I watched like a 2020 or a Dateline or something one time that the guy, this man set up these companies. He fixed or he broke one little piece in his AC. And then he called different companies out there to see if they would be honest about what was wrong.
Mhm.
And I mean, out of like the five different companies he called, only one of them said that that was what the problem was. The rest of them wanted to replace it or they wanted to fix some big, huge part of it that they didn't need to fix. And that just, you'll be found out. And I'm not meaning that those people were, I don't know, the ones that quoted you may not have, maybe they just thought it would be better to go. I'm sure they thought it would be better for them for you to replace it. But
Mhm.
oh, it just makes you think
Mhm. Yeah,
and
it's
appreciate honesty.
well, and the guys that came out from the other companies were really nice. I
Hmm.
mean, I liked them. The second one was a little, he was still nice, but he was a little pushy. He was like,
Hmm.
it's going to get hotter. But if
Salesman.
you want to go ahead and commit, we'll come out tomorrow. And
Mm.
I kept saying, I'll just take your card. Thanks for the information.
Yeah.
And he knew we had already had another company out, so he was saying, well, we'll do it for this much. So they were
Yeah.
already doing all that. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'll let you know.
Hmm. Well, in the summertime, they make the most of their money in the summer when people are desperate for air conditioning. I know.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to tell you a little bit about PTP,
Yeah.
which was great. I loved it. Loved seeing people. Loved, it was great lessons, and I didn't gain any weight. I'm so proud of myself.
Good job.
Now, Tennessee, when we go next month, may be a different story because there's fritters everywhere there, and then there's no fritters that I found anyway in Branson. But it was one of the things that was hilarious, and I don't know that I'll be able to tell it and it for it to translate be as funny as it was then, but. So Dan Winkler on Sunday night was in the big room, the big EHA, and I don't know what that stands for, but it means it's big. And
Mhm.
so he's on the podium, and behind him is the huge image of him and what his lesson title is. And then
Mhm.
there's a big jumbotron on either side that has his face. But this year, the new thing was that they had closed captioning going on the whole time.
Oh
And it
no.
was huge letters in that big EHA room. I
I'd be
mean,
so distracted by that.
I can't. I mean, John wants closed caption because he
Yeah, we
likes
don't
to be
have
able to know. I can't do it because I just end up reading everything. I'm just reading the whole movie and I don't like that. So anyway, and they're huge letters. Like the Jumbotron is this big. Well, the letters are this much of it. And it's like, I bet they were 3 feet tall if you got looked at them up close. But he got up and he started talking about his lesson and then he just threw that name and I can't say it, but it's the Bible name Maher Shalal Hashbaz. You know that name, you read it, I'm sure you come across it.
Sure.
He just said it and he was talking about him and he finally, a minute later he said, and he said the name again, Maher Shalal Hashbaz. It has nothing to do with my lesson tonight, but I've been watching this closed captioning all week and I thought I'd have some fun with it. And it was hilarious watching it because what came up was like
That is funny.
hatchback, mower, shallow hatchback. So and he kept saying it over and over again. And every time he would say it, the closed captioning would come up with something else.
That is hilarious.
He's just a funny man anyway. I love him to pieces. But he said, I just decided I'd have a little fun with it. He said, the angel Dan on my shoulder was saying, no, you shouldn't do that. But then
Yeah.
there's that little devil Dan on my shoulder that said, yeah, you should do it. And it was great. It was so
Oh, that's
funny.
cute.
Yeah, it
Cute.
was. But it was a good week. I'm glad to be
Good
back.
to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
What else you got?
Well, do I have time to talk about that thing that
Yeah.
I know you have a commitment here in a
No,
little?
no, I'm good. I'm good. Go
Okay,
ahead.
well, when we were at this Portland Church of Christ on Sunday, before they started worship, they were calling kids up and they were calling them something detective, like I don't remember the exact names, but junior detective and is come up, congratulations, you've graduated too, and then be the next level detective. And they were calling these kids up and handing them a certificate.
Mhm.
And so we were asking about it afterwards, and it is a little program that a couple named Sean and Emily Tyson came up with for the congregation, and it's called Bible Detectives. And so there's a question, but everybody participates, not just kids. It's
Hmm.
for the whole congregation. And I took a picture of it. In the back, there's a like the foyers in the back of the building. There's a bulletin board and it says Bible Detectives. And every week there's a question on the board. And then there's a lockbox with a little slit in front of it. And then there are these clue cards or detective cards. I don't know what they call them all. And it'll have your name and, the answer if you find it and the reference, the scripture reference that you're supposed to put there. And then you tuck it in there by Wednesday. So you see the clue and pick up your card on Sunday. By Wednesday, you have to have the answer in there. And so, um, I guess if you do it for so many weeks in a row or whatever, you advance. And so you get up to senior detective or something. I really am butchering this because I don't remember all the cute little names that they came up for it,
Yeah.
but it was great. And it's all kind of police
Hmm.
oriented because this Sean Tyson is an officer. And so anyway, I just loved it. And the best part about it is they'll every month they'll have a picture of two of their elders on that board. And it's if you're stumped, see them, go up to them for the clues, and they each have a different clue. And so the kids can go up to their elders and ask for that week's clue. And it might be something like, what's 11 plus 11? And 22 would be the chapter of the book, that it's in or whatever. So some little clue like that. And so all I kept thinking about, the best part about this, not only are the kids, they're telling everybody don't Google the answer, but not only are kids and adults getting into the word every week, but kids are going up to the elders
Hmm.
and approaching them
Interacting.
and
Hmm.
asking them a question. And the elders have been, they said, all in, like loving it and having fun with it. One even showed up with a magnifying glass one time. And so they're forming this relationship with them.
Hmm.
And when I was talking to him about it afterwards, I just kept thinking that the best part, another thing that they do at this congregation is, you know how congregations on the PowerPoint will have their announcement, like scrolling announcements and upcoming events and things like that. Well, one of their screens says, Let's Talk. And it has a picture of two of their elders. I don't know if they change them out by the month or what, but in room, whatever. So if there's anything on your heart, anything whatsoever, a problem, a question, a prayer request, or whatever, you can go into this room. These are the two elders that'll be in there, and you can go in there and talk to them about whatever is on your mind, which I love. Well, all I kept thinking about is this little program that they're doing is making it easy
Hmm.
for these kids to grow up and do that as adults because they're already going to be in the habit of finding them so approachable and relatable, and they will have interacted with them as kids, and developed these relationships so that as teenagers or adults, maybe they see that come up on the screen and something's weighing on them or a doubt or
Hmm.
something they heard at college or whatever it is. It's going to be so much easier for them to go talk to their shepherds.
Yeah.
And, there's just been so many great things. I don't think that Sean and Emily knew, or maybe they did, but all the like ripples of good that have come about from this program. But the reason I want to share it, the best part about it is they said they're actually going to create the kits. They're in the process right now, and they think it might all be ready to go in about 2 weeks,
Oh,
where it
wow.
will come with everything you need, like stuff for your bulletin board and stuff for your the little detective cards and all the clues and and
Instructions.
and they restart it, I think, every quarter so that kids never feel behind. Like if somebody's reached senior
Yeah.
detective and they never left the first, and they
Yeah.
won't feel behind. Everybody starts over the next quarter. But anyway, Bible Detectives, Sean and Emily Tyson, and I told them to let me know when it's available and that I would share it on here. And I think it's fantastic.
And they're in Portland or
Hmm.
somewhere else? They're in
They're
Portland.
in Portland. They
In
used to
Christian.
be at West Palm Beach. They used to live in West
Okay.
Palm Beach. Mhm.
Yeah. What a fabulous idea. I love that. I
Yeah.
love ideas that are practical and fun and um, not hard. And
Mhm.
like you say, have the ripple effect of benefiting things later and helping you be more comfortable. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah. So they're getting them into the word and building relationships. And multi-generational relationships in the
Yeah.
congregation. So,
Well, great. I
cool,
can't wait
huh?
to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very. Okay, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it. I think I've talked long enough.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I will say just one more little thing. Jordan and Aaron are at camp. This is the Peach Valley camp that they've done every year. I think this is probably 12 years or so where they have, I think I've described it before. They have the camp is for uh third through eighth grade, and then the ninth through 12th grades are the servant leaders. And anyway, it's a great program. I need to talk about it someday and explain it and maybe get them to explain it better. But it's at this place called Peach Valley, which is close to Gonzales, Texas. It's kind of South Texas. And the very first year we went, which was, well, I won't say the year because I can't remember, 10 or 12 years ago, one of the little girls that was part of the staff family got bit by a copperhead snake.
Oh,
And that same year, we had sewer problems that backed up into the girls' cabin. And it was just, there was a lot that went on. It was the very first year. It almost felt like, somebody doesn't want us here. The
mhm.
devil doesn't want us here. But anyway, it's just a place that snakes tend to congregate. And Jordan sent me a picture yesterday of 3 dead copperheads. But the good thing about it, and yeah, Neil would have a fit. I'm sure he hates snakes, but they have it, they're on top of it. There's sidewalks all through the camp, so they don't have to go out in the leaves. Kids don't have to go out to be able to get to cabin to cabin. I'm just thinking to myself, if there's any moms listening to this, they won't find out about it till next Monday, but they are on snake patrol. They have people all the time out on snake patrol looking for snakes and making sure that the grounds are clear. Haven't had any more problem with it as far as someone being bitten since that
Yeah.
very first time. But you know, these camps, they go through some pretty gnarly stuff and they're
Mhm.
handling it very well, I think. So
Yeah,
that's
we had
all
a snake in our space, a big long snake in our space this year, but luckily it wasn't poisonous, I don't think.
in your at camp.
Hmm.
Oh,
Did I not share that on here?
I don't remember you saying that.
I was the teen girls class met in the crafts cabin, which is an open air outdoor thing. And
Mhm.
so I was walking down there early. Thankfully, it was early, about 15 minutes early to set up all my stuff. And Jennifer Harrison and I were down there, and there was a huge snake
Yeah.
right there, brushed up. So I had this whiteboard, stand down
Mhm.
there, leaning up against it. And it was several feet long. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, it was huge. And I saw it and I went, I was like, Jennifer, Jennifer. And she says that I kept hitting, when she walked over there, that I kept hitting her on the back. I honestly don't even remember doing that. But anyway, that was when I went up. I was trying to find somebody to come help us, and I had to go through 3 men before somebody would come help because the other guys were going, not me, I'm afraid of snakes.
Great.
I know. I was like, what happened to the knight in
Chivalry.
shining armor? Yeah, what
Yeah.
happened to chivalry here? But so they use sticks to try and pick that thing up and remove it. And every time they try and walk off with it, it would drop off and make its way back over to where we were. It was just determined to stay over there. And it was a racer. It was a black racer.
Yeah.
So they can be pretty aggressive and they gave me the willies. But
Mhm.
yeah, that
I
was our
know they
little,
do good things. They kill other varmints and stuff, but I don't want one near me. So you
no,
still
no.
have your class there?
We did. And I was just thankful that I had gone early because I can just imagine the mayhem if I
Yeah.
had discovered
With
that
girls?
with all the girls. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
We
No.
never would have had a lesson.
Were you not distracted the whole time? I'd have been like
I was
looking
pretty
over my shoulder.
distracted. Jennifer and I both were kind of like looking over our shoulder, making sure that thing didn't crawl back over there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like that year that the little girl got bit, everyone had to wear closed-toed, good shoes. We couldn't just wear sandals and flip-flops and things. So it
mm,
changes when you see one of those things. Looking
yes,
forward to heaven with no
no snakes.
predatory snakes, maybe.
No
Ugh, yeah.
snakes or spiders or
Spiders.
spiders.
Okay.
Okay, anyways.
Are we ready to move on
Is
to
it
topic
time to
one?
run? Is it time to end this episode?
Yeah, right. I don't even know what time we started.
It feels like it was a long time ago.
It probably was, but we'll press on.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk about manners today. and how we should have them. It's a good thing to have manners. But I'm just kind of blown away by things that to me are very obvious. You just don't do that. And when I was writing some down, it just occurred to me when I'm looking at my list of things that I think my problem is people who are not aware. They're not self-aware. Like I've said many times when someone puts their
Grocery
basket,
cart.
their
Yeah.
cart, and walks away from it, like, okay, now I have to fight to get around your cart and So I have a short fuse, I guess, when it comes to people not being self-aware, which is partly my problem, but I think it's also bad manners to not be aware of how you affect people around you. So anyway, just thinking about some scriptures. Of course, there's Matthew 7:12, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So be aware of how your actions, your words affect other people. Something as simple as the golden rule, Philippians 2:3, don't do anything from selfishness or vain conceit, and always with humility of mind, regard other people as more important than you are. So, when you're trying to maybe decide where to go eat or something like that, I think of the what Disney character was it that was like two vultures up in the tree and they're saying, "No, you go first. No, you go first." And those kind of things go through my head when I'm thinking about manners. First Peter 3:8, be harmonious and sympathetic and be brotherly towards one another, kind-hearted, and have humility of spirit. Ephesians 4, let no unwholesome word proceed, but only a word good for edifying and words that are full of grace. Romans 12:13, we're to practice hospitality. First Thessalonians 5:18, and be thankful in everything, give thanks. So there's all kinds, and that's very non-existent, exhaustive list. But there are, of course, scriptural reasons why we should have good manners. But I thought it would be fun to talk about things that maybe you and I grew up being taught by our parents as far as having good manners and what are our differences. And because I think some things are maybe regional, of course, cultural. There's cultural things like greetings. We hug each other or shake hands, but in other cultures, they kiss each other on the cheek. And I'm glad that I don't live in that culture because I don't know. It just seems that seems invasive to me. But probably over there, a hug might seem invasive to them. So anyway, I will start giving some and you can tell me how you feel about them. And maybe you can tell us some that you wrote down as well. But like I said, I always think about not everyone thinks like me and not everyone grew up like me. And that's kind of the main thing on this point is that I realize that not everyone had the same training as I had. Not everyone had a mother that would tell me, tell whoever, don't do that. When you walk up to someone, introduce yourself. Just there's just a lot of different backgrounds that we come from that may or may not have instructed their sons and daughters to do things the way my parents taught me. And so I have found myself in the past just being insulted a little bit, like, I can't believe you did that. But then I've thought they just weren't taught the same as I was. And so I have to kind of back off. Some things that seem common sense to me are not to everyone else. So I just thought we would talk about that. And the first one I think is one of your favorites, and it's table manners. Like things like chewing with your mouth open. I know that this is something that we are probably all sensitive to, but what are some of the table manners that maybe your parents taught you?
Well, no humming or singing at the table.
See,
Yeah.
I never had that taught to me.
Yeah, that was one. And I don't know why. And I don't think that we did that with our kids. I may have in the very beginning, but then I kind of decided I didn't understand it. And, but that was just one of the ones that no humming or singing at the table. And I really can't think of any others that they taught us that I didn't teach our kids. But I did want to throw in there, um, we taught our boys table manners and various manners, and things like that. And um, we had this thing where if they made like a bodily function at the table, they would have to leave the table and go sit on the bottom step.
Mm-hmm.
That was just what we did. And they still talk about that. But they kind of went through this period when they were questioning everything where they said they don't really understand why manners should be enforced because it's just a man-made thing. It's somebody's opinion. Like, who gets to decide what's good manners and what isn't? And it's not even the same around the, like, they went through this whole thing where they didn't see any real purpose in it and didn't feel the need to continue on. And I was always kind of stymied by that because I thought manners just make you likable.
Yeah.
Most of them. I mean, some of them, there's probably really no, you
Yeah.
kind of wonder where it came from and how it got started. But most of the time, good manners make you more likable and
Mhm.
more pleasant to be around. And when you
Mhm.
don't practice them, then the opposite is true. You are not, it's not very pleasant to be around you. So
Yeah.
it's like, why are you even kicking back on this? Do you not want people to like you?
And when they're 12, they probably say, I don't care.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
That's funny. John's parents told him no singing at the table too. But I guess that's just never something I was tempted to do. So
Mhm.
I never heard that. I'd never heard it until John told me his parents said no singing at the table. But he
Yeah,
sings, and you do too. I mean, he sings to himself, and I
mhm.
never have done that.
Dale was always really happy anytime he was eating and he was always humming and
Yeah.
while he was eating.
I love that though. I think that that does make you more likable, but maybe not everybody wants to hear it. But I was thinking like chewing your mouth open. That's just one of those things that, some people are ultra, ultra sensitive to it, and I can deal with it. Like I'm not gonna gag or anything, but there are some people that seriously, it makes them ill when they are around someone who chews with their mouth open.
It's
And
kind of trendy now though, like the what there's a word for it when it bothers you to hear other people eat.
really,
There's a word for it. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, or chewing your gum
hmm,
with your mouth open.
yeah,
Sometimes you can hear like somebody sitting behind you in worship, and they're chewing
yeah.
their
Mouth noises are
yeah,
just not good manners.
yeah. So I
Sometimes we
felt
can't help
like
them.
I'm here to worship. It
Yeah.
doesn't bother me as much. I kind of go, I'm aware of it. I kind
Mhm.
of go, oh, wow, they're chewing their gum with their mouth open. But I'm not sitting there going, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me that bad.
That brings to mind my mom. She wouldn't let me have gum during worship. She, she would say it will distract you from what we're here for, and you really don't need gum while we're in worship. But there were other things that she taught me, like when the invitation song was being sung, be still,
Don't go to the
sing and be
bathroom.
still. Don't move around. Don't pack up your things because
Mhm.
she remembered when she was wrestling with becoming a Christian, and in the middle of the invitation song, there's people that are moving around and bending over, and they're getting ready to leave while she was trying to decide whether or not she wanted to respond to the invitation. So that's something that I have grown up with, and I just think probably a lot of people don't think about it, but maybe it's something we should think about.
I
So
think when you're in ministry, you tend to think about it more because we're aware of what the moment of invitation,
mhm,
the sermon was just presented and the word is working on hearts. And from a preacher's perspective, he doesn't want any distractions. He's
yeah,
being in the audience and I've heard him say that sometimes you can tell somebody is so close and
hmm,
then somebody will get up and leave and they'll get distracted and the moment's gone. And you could argue that they must have not been really convicted of somebody going to the bathroom
yeah,
is going to keep them from responding. But I think it was just be mindful of the moment
yeah,
kind of teaching. And, we did the same thing with our boys. They weren't even allowed to get up and go to the bathroom though, but we would make them go before worship and
hmm,
there was no getting up and leaving during
yeah,
worship. You can, whatever it is, can wait until after worship is over.
yeah. I
Unless I was
knew
taking them out for a spanking.
Yeah, I knew I had to legitimately have like an emergency almost to be able to get up and leave.
Mhm.
It's something to think about, but I still think about that when during the invitation song and people are just moving around, and I'm not judging people for doing that. I just think
Yeah.
they just didn't really, they don't think about it. And so maybe it is good for us to bring this up just to think about what you're doing during the invitation song, to be mindful of that. But back to table manners. What about just things like clearing off the table, helping clear off the table? That was probably something your mom taught you to do, and we taught our boys to do. just, help clean off the table. And were you required to stay until everyone was finished, or were you allowed to get up and leave?
We stayed. We
Mm-hmm.
stayed. I'm trying to, I don't even remember if I taught my boys that or not. I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
My sister taught her boys to, before they leave the table, they thank who
Mm-hmm.
provided the meal, they compliment the meal, and then they say, "May I be excused?"
Yeah.
Before every single time. And every single time we visited, it didn't matter who was cooking or what we were having or even how casual it was,
Mm-hmm.
they would say something along those lines. They would, "Thank you, that was good. May I be excused?"
Yeah. This is a little unrelated to table manners, but it just reminded me of that. What did y'all teach your boys to say? Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes or no, sir?
We tried really hard and it's a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we lived in Alabama and Virginia, it was a given. Everybody said that. That was just you addressed people by ma'am and sir. You didn't call them by adults by their first name. When we moved to Denver, it took me a while to figure this out, but it was almost thoughtless to call somebody ma'am or sir because the adults would tell the kids, please don't call me that.
Hmm.
Just call me whatever the name was. And I would say, well, at least say Miss Sally or Miss, or Mr. blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah. But it was almost like, and at first I said to them, I don't care what they say. You're
Yeah.
gonna say,
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, no, sir. And then but they just kept getting corrected. They just kept getting corrected. And then it just got to the point where now it's being considerate because this person has asked you not to address them that way. And it was
Mhm.
just a different culture. Like out there, I think it just made people feel too formal or old
Mhm.
or like that's my dad or I don't know. But and even addressing the elderly, a lot of Christians would address older Christians as brother or sister so and
Mhm.
so was more um something done in Alabama and Virginia and not so much in Colorado. And
Yeah,
I remember when we first went to Bear Valley, I would hear the students address like Warren Wilcox by his first name.
right.
And I remember saying something about it to Michael Height, like, I would die if one of my kids did that. Like that is so disrespectful. And he
Yeah.
didn't say anything.
Mhm.
But later on, I kind of learned that they wanted to foster that close
Yeah.
relationship. This isn't a formal, we're above you kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And so it's just a different perspective. I think people
Yeah.
view things in different parts of the country. Now it might all be that way. I don't know.
Well, that the same thing happened with us. We were involved with the Southwest School of Bible Studies down here in Austin for years and years, and they called the staff was brother so and so and sister so and so in the offices, and then when we went to Denver, it was first names, and so it was helpful to me because I think depending on where you are,
Mhm.
students need to know that it's, in fact, I remember hearing about someone from the South that we know who went to be, and I say South, like Alabama, Tennessee, in that area, and they had gone out west for something, and a student picked them up at the airport and just immediately started calling him by his first name, and he was quite taken aback by that. So I think, it doesn't hurt to just always be respectful. Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am. Yes, sir, whatever. And until they invite you to call
Yeah,
them by their first name.
let
Hmm.
them offer an opportunity to call them by their first name or not
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those of us who grew up with the respectful yes, sir, whatever, don't don't be offended when someone doesn't. It's just I think a difference in upbringing, a difference in teaching, a difference in area. So I think we can be really opinionated about it, but we have to be careful not to
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
overly opinionated. Yeah.
I
So
still feel a little bit awkward about it if I'm writing a thank you note and
excuse
somebody's
me.
older than me and I'm thinking they probably view us as more peers and I should just put their name,
Hmm.
just their name, but I still hesitate every single time because I'm wanting, even with Roger and Joyce Johnson, you know,
Hmm.
we're good friends with them and we've traveled with them and in my mind, I still want to call her Miss Joyce.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard once you've learned a certain way.
Yeah. But she probably views as, I'm 53. I probably don't need to say Mr. and Mrs. to people anymore.
Maybe not, but old habits die hard, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of covered table manners. I'm sure there's others that we're missing, but what about here's something that I feel like is regional because when I got married, John's aunt and well, more than one of his aunts and cousin hosted a bridal shower for me. And mom thought that was so unusual because where we came from, family didn't host showers. It was almost like, here, come. She felt like it was come give gifts to my family member.
Mm.
And so I grew up kind of, Also, she didn't, where she came from, you didn't give a repeat shower for like a baby. If you have baby number two, number three, they've already had a shower. They already have the things. So let's shower other people that don't have things. But everywhere we went after that, they would host another baby shower and they might host a diaper shower or something like that. But I found that that is more of a regional thing. Just depends on what's customary where you're from. And I think that why not shower people when we can? I know there can be shower fatigue. And I think, I think about Bear Valley probably had 9 babies born in the last 6 months or so. But still, each baby is special and each family needs help to get started. So, we might have to lessen the amount that we spend on each one or something. But I just felt like it's a good idea to shower whoever we can and as many people as we can. So showers, I thought about that. Uh, Tipping in some areas, more so in other countries, is different. And so you might need to find out what the custom is where you go. I even think about personal space is kind of regional too. And where you go in different parts of the world. I've never been to Africa. How do they greet another there?
They shake hands, but it has to be a certain hand.
Oh, a certain hand, like, what do you
Mhm.
mean? They don't do it like we do it.
Well, they do. You just don't want to grab, I guess it's the left hand. You just don't want to grab somebody's left hand. I don't
Is
want
it
to.
considered rude or something?
No, it's a practical thing they do with their left hand.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, moving on. And I should have said this.
But I'm glad you brought that up because in Africa, there are things that are considered rude, like crossing your legs
Mm,
is considered rude. You're not supposed to show the bottom of your foot.
mm,
And I can hardly sit without crossing my legs. And I'm aware, you can commit that in ignorance, that
mhm.
rudeness. And there are certain gestures there that we don't consider rude that they do. You can commit that in ignorance because you don't know. But when you know, and you should try and find out, ahead of time. But when you know, you really should try hard not to be offensive. And that one's really hard for me. I mean, I just catch myself. We could
Yeah,
be right there in a Bible study and I'll just catch myself and I'll be like, you know, hurry up
yeah,
and uncross my legs, because I just do it naturally without thinking about it. I got my legs crossed right now. So,
yeah. Yeah, I came across that in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. One of the people that was with us, we were waiting for some others to go through a line, and we sat down in some chairs, and a woman crossed her legs and got scolded for it. And we
mm,
were all, that's the first time I'd ever heard it. I was dumbfounded. And when I asked about it from some other people we knew that there, it's disrespectful. It's casual for them. I don't know if it had to do anything with the bottom of the foot, but for them, it was when you're in a place of worship, then you sit respectfully with your feet flat on the floor. But they were scolded for it. Like whoever walked, this priest or something walked by and like tapped her on the knee with some stick or something. And I don't even know if he said it in English, but it was kind of alarming.
yeah.
But it's just one of those regional things, or cultural things. So you're right. We should probably try to find out what they are so we don't get whacked on the knee. What about, oh, and this is what I should have said at the very beginning. When you and I talked about this before, we're hesitant to bring some up because maybe somebody that we've been around has done one of the things that we're going to talk about. But I know, and I know you too, we tend to forget things like that. So we are not calling anybody out. We are not, if you think, oh, I just did that last week to Carla, I promise I am not, I haven't thought about it. These were just things that I was going through in my mind thinking, oh yeah, my mom taught me that, or yeah, we used to teach the boys that. So I hope no one is offended by any of these because we're not trying to single anybody out. We're not trying to send any hidden message. We're just wanting to talk about manners. So I should have said that at the beginning. Having said that, this is something that I find myself doing is interrupting. I
Mhm.
even do it to you when we're on the podcast talking, and I find myself, "Oh, be quiet, Carla, be quiet." Because I'm just interjecting something, or I have found myself doing this like when at worship and I have a message for someone and they're standing in a group of 4 or 5 women and I just walk up to them and I bleh, say it to them. And then I walk away having said nothing to the other people. And my mind is like just on what I wanted to say. But I think that I have been quite rude a number of times and I've had to go back to people and say, I'm sorry, I was rude. I didn't mean to. So interrupting. Do you interrupt?
That's yes. And I always catch myself when I do it, but it's like my mouth won't stop. Once I've caught myself, I'm like, well, now I've gone. I have to keep going. But the whole time I'm in my mind going, wow, that was rude. And I've had people, not very often, but enough to where it stands out to me. Even recently, a gentleman, I mean, I was literally in the conversation face to face with somebody, and he just came up and started talking to me. And it's like, excuse me a second,
Yeah, right.
and I'm sure I've done that too, because you're just not aware. You're mission minded.
Hmm.
You say you probably when you go, you're thinking, I need to give this to this person and ask this person about this and mention this and figure out when we're going to meet about, you've got like all these people that you need to meet with or talk to, and you're just mission minded and you're not thinking about it and probably don't realize that you're walking in on
Yeah.
conversation that they were already in the middle of having with somebody else.
Yeah. And it's like, again, it's a matter of self-awareness, like being aware of the people around you and aware of your walking up and, you're intruding on a conversation often. This is
Mhm.
something that John and I can laugh about it, but I've had to ask him, please don't do that. But it happens all the time. And if he
Mhm.
listened to this, he would agree with me. In fact, it happened this week. I'll be sitting talking to someone on my left. He's sitting over here talking to someone on my right, and he'll say, Carla, what's the name of so and so? And I know I can feel my face going, and I turn and look at him, and I like having a conversation here. Excuse me. Like you said, excuse me for a moment.
Yeah.
And he'll always apologize and he realizes he's in the middle of a thought and can't remember that I might be in the middle of a thought, but interrupting, just being aware of not barging in. Okay, this is one that I thought of. This is why I even thought about us talking about this because Brian was staying with us a couple weeks ago, and when he was about to leave, he said, "Do you want me to take the sheets off?" And so I thought, let's talk about, when you're staying with someone or visiting in their home, how do you handle certain situations? Because it was very kind of him to offer. And a lot of times I might say, yeah, would you mind taking the sheets off and bringing them to the washing machine, whatever. But there are times that I just want them to be left alone because maybe I'm going to rearrange something in the room or whatever. But the very fact that he offered, I thought was just very polite.
Mhm.
So I thought about that when you're uh like dishes. Do you help with the dishes? You sure, to me, should always offer to help. And it seems like nowadays more of us don't, we'd rather sit and visit and then we'll do the dishes after you're gone. That seems to be what I run into. But my mother would be horrified by that. You always help with the dishes. Wherever you are, you help with the dishes. But I prefer to do them myself. I'd rather load the dishwasher because I know how best to fit everything in there. What about, do you just go into somebody's cabinet and get a glass out? And, I think that just depends on the situation because, like I've told Brian, you go find whatever you want. But
Mhm.
I know him well enough to know that he will. And if he can't find it, he'll ask me for it, whatever. But I've also heard of people who are visiting like for the first time in someone's home and they're like looking through their cabinets, looking for something, just curious about how they organize their stuff. And that's a little different. So I don't know
That
what
makes me feel cringy.
I know, me too. because sometimes you have personal things in your cabinets.
Mhm.
It makes me think of the movie Steve Martin was in when he was snooping in a medicine cabinet. And when he did, all of the medicine came falling out. So that always enters my mind if I am tempted to snoop. I never snoop. I don't snoop.
Of course not. Of course
Oh,
not. I think
no.
when people say make yourself at home, they mean within reason.
Yeah. And that does not include the medicine cabinet.
That's right.
Yeah. But what do you do? Like if
Unless
you
they
visit,
offer it. Yeah.
yeah, if you're in someone's home, what do you think are the proper manners to handle things like that?
I think it all depends who it is.
Yeah.
If I'm staying with my sister, I know that she doesn't care, and I would strip her sheets and I would go hunting for a glass or,
Hmm.
and I feel the same way. If it's family, I don't care. If it's my mom, my sister, my kids, I don't care what they do.
Hmm.
And but if I'm in somebody else's house, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I think I just make the bed. I don't think I strip the
Yeah.
sheets. It's thoughtful to ask. Somebody might
Hmm.
appreciate that. But I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, what if they don't want me to see their mattresses?
Yeah.
What if they would be
Yeah.
embarrassed if I saw their mattresses,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
me trying to be nice really made them uncomfortable, made them embarrassed about something. I
Yeah.
think you can offer things, but let them lead the way of how they, whether it's helping with dishes. I think you should definitely always offer.
Right.
Hate to leave somebody with this huge mess. I'm the same way you are. I prefer that. I would rather Neil and me do it together afterwards and talk over the evening. And part of it is I'm not really good at multitasking with company afterwards,
Mm.
if there's a big mess, because I'm thinking, what are we gonna do with these leftovers? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
I always just say, oh, that's fine. Just leave it. Just leave it there. We'll get it later.
Yeah. And I think different situations are different. So, but like you said, offering, I think is always good to offer and
Yeah.
make the bed or,
And I know people want to feel useful, but I try and do that on the front end.
mm,
Would you mind putting ice in the glasses
yeah.
or something like that to make them feel useful and give them something to do.
Right.
But afterwards, I'm just like, let's just set this all here and we'll go in here and talk, or we'll go over here and play a game or, whatever.
Yeah. Same. Okay. Thank you notes. You write thank you notes for thank you notes. You're the most thankful thank you note writer I've ever known.
Thank you. I'll send you a note for that.
Okay, I expect one. And if I'd have thought about it, I would have brought over one of my thank you notes from you that I framed because you painted it, you watercolored it, and I loved it. But thank you notes, I think, and I was raised to write them. In fact, this may have been that may be a little much to say. Mom wouldn't let me play with a toy until I'd written a thank you note for it, but we were expected to do that
Mhm.
ASAP. And like wedding shower gifts, baby shower gifts. My daughter-in-law, Courtney, is top notch about this. I mean, she is on top of thank you notes, and I love that. And I really do believe that they are important, that we should express our thanks as quick as we can. I mean, if someone goes to the trouble to think about you and do something for you and give you a gift or do something thoughtful for you, it's not too much for us to take the time to write a thank you note. Having said that, what I don't like is someone that is waiting for a thank you note and judges and is persnickety about it when it doesn't come as quick as they think it should come because things happen. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I was raised to write a thank you note before you enjoy whatever item it is.
Mhm.
Like if somebody buys you a sweater, write your thank you note before you wear the sweater. And so I think thank you notes are thoughtful, and I think they're a handmade note in this day and age is a little bit extra special. But I don't think that's the only way to thank people. And I know that the important part of it is expressing the thanks, and it's not really on us to say it has to be in this handwritten note. You can thank somebody in person, you can thank somebody via text, you can send a thoughtful email. I mean, excuse me, there's more than one way to do it. So I agree with you that somebody that's going to sit around and say, they didn't even send me a thank you note. I
Mhm.
mean, why did you do the whatever you did in the first place anyway?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
to get a note.
Yeah. And I know sometimes they want to make sure that someone got what they sent. So that might be a reason why they'd say, did you I didn't get a note. I just want to make sure that you got what I sent you. So, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a lost art, but thank you notes. And I don't, if someone's listening that I did something for, I'm promise. I forgot about it. Don't
Mhm.
feel like you have to. And I don't expect, anyway, I just don't expect them. I think that's my main thing is that I don't expect them, but I think it's a good thing to do for people. Okay. Kids' manners, as far as things that you teach them. It's funny that I remember my kids going through phases where, they resisted certain, like shake so and so's hand, shake Brother Jones's hand. And they were shy and, they do this. Usually it's when they're little bitty. Olivia, our granddaughter, is having a little trouble with this. They'll say thank you. And she's just, she clams up. So the things that I was thinking of, to me, when I look back on how John handled this the best with our boys, and girls are different, but for the boys, he did like role play. And he said, okay, pretend like I'm Brother Jones and I'm going to walk up to you. And what would you do? And so he taught them how to shake hands and look them in the eye and say, my name's Jordan or my name's whatever. Just I think that role playing helps teaching rather than on the spot when you walk up to someone that they've never met before in their life and you expect them to say something, look at them. It's intimidating. So I don't know, shaking hands, looking someone in the eye, speaking to your elders, and I don't mean church elders, although they are included, but people who are older than us, and saying please and thank you are just to me the bare basics that we should teach our kids as far as their manners.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, I would also add, don't interrupt, unless
Yeah,
it's something urgent,
yeah.
and I think a lot of moms are really good about that. And it's hard when they're small anyway, because of course they're going to interrupt. They're not going to be thinking about it. But I think it's just polite to teach children to wait until the conversation is over, or at least somebody's taking a breath.
Mhm. Yeah,
If you're just talking and talking and talking, and your poor child never gets a word in edgewise, that's different, But I just think it's one of those courtesy things to
yeah.
teach them to be aware,
Mhm.
when somebody's in a conversation, not to go up and just interrupt. And
Yeah, that's a good one. I've seen mothers have said that they have a rule, like when their child walks up and wants to ask them something, if they'll just reach up and hold her hand, that's kind of like a signal that I need
Mhm.
to ask you something. And then the mother can say, when it's appropriate, okay, what do you need to say?
Mhm.
Okay, we need to move a little quicker. I just wanted to read through. This was an article that I read about men when they're out on a date or how they should treat women. One of them was, of course, to hold the door open, keep it open, and let the women walk through. And one of the quotes just said, a little extra effort shows that you care, which I agree. And that for all of these, it just shows that you care. One of them that John never knew is that, and I was taught, and I was a little offended until I said something to him, and he was like, I never even thought about that. For the man to walk on the side closest to the street. It's just like a little protective, to take that the more dangerous side where there's cars going by, which some people may have never thought about. But my mom said that men should do that. Another one is if she's standing, you're standing. We don't really do this much anymore, but a lot of, well, I'll say a lot, some young men that I see, if their date gets up to go somewhere, he'll stand up and then he'll sit back down when she's gone and stand back up when she comes back. So I think that's very chivalrous. And then, of course, being kind to the others, not just to her, but like if you're on a date, be nice to the waiter, be nice to the people at the restaurant, not just to her, because it just says so much about your character if you are rude to people around you, but only nice to her. So, of course, opening the car door. I know Neil does that for you.
Mhm.
John sometimes does. But sometimes I get to the car before him and I'll just get in. So I think that it depends on if it matters to you that if he does that. Another one that I thought about was to be aware of your setting. And this is something that comes to mind at a funeral, for example. After the funeral is over and we all exit from the where we've had the funeral and maybe into the lobby, and then we start talking and we're laughing. And I've always felt bad about that because I think inside, they're still in there. Maybe they're having the final viewing. The family is still in there, and we're being noisy and loud and laughing in their grief. And I know I've done it. I've done it. You just kind of forget where you are. And maybe that family has no problem with it, but it just made me think about being aware of where you are and the situation you're in and being aware of other people's feelings. So that's just something that I thought of. Here's another one. When you're with other people, do you whisper and have a private conversation with one person while other people are around? To me, that's always felt rude. Just, you're excluding others from your conversation. Okay, what if you have made
I
the,
had that one down too. Not necessarily the whispering, but excluding others in conversation by talking about something that,
yeah,
I say there's five of you and four of you went and did something together and that fifth
mhm,
person wasn't there,
yeah,
and it's okay to bring it up, but if you just keep talking about it the whole time and they're completely excluded,
mhm,
that's not very thoughtful.
yeah. Okay, I'm going to move through these quickly. What if you have RSVP'd for something? And this happened a lot when we did college work years ago, years and years ago. And someone says, okay, I'm going to be there, but then something comes up. But you've bought food for the number of people that you had. Say 20 people are coming and then only 15 show up and you have a lot left over, or you're waiting for them to come and they don't show up. So that was something I was taught, and I think we need to be aware of. If you've said you're going to do something, you need to you need to be there. Don't Obviously there's going to be times you get sick or there's an emergency and you just can't come, and call and let them know you're not going to be there and why, and it's just something you can't help. But if there's any way you can help it, if you've RSVP'd, go. Or if you haven't RSVP'd and you show up, call and ask if there's room. So am I being too harsh on that?
No, it's just thoughtfulness.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, just saying thank you, not just writing thank you notes, but when you've been to someone's home, and I think this happens too with a lot of young people, you forget and you just leave and you haven't said thank you to the host. So say thank you. Um, being respectful of other people's time. And I feel like this can be like maybe if we're late, I know that that's something that bothers you, that you don't like to be late,
Mhm.
or being early can also be disrespectful of someone's time. And this, I think about my mother-in-law, and I had just had a baby, and this was 36 or so years ago. So it was a long time ago. She's gone now, and I have nothing bad to say about my mother-in-law. I adored her, but they were always early. They were always early, and we got to where we could count on them always being early. So I always knew I needed to be ready a little ahead of time. But they were coming over. I had just had a baby. I think it was Jordan. It might have been Jacob. I'm not sure. And we had asked them to come at noon for lunch. And so all morning long, when you have a new baby, you barely can get out of your pajamas anyway. But I was trying to clean up the house and I was trying to get the food ready. And so I had put off getting dressed until, like, I was thinking 11:45 might be safe, but 11:30 they were there and I was still in my pajamas, and I was I don't know how to nicely say how I felt, but it was not a good feeling. And so I think, just be respectful, because sometimes when we show up too early, people aren't ready for us. And if we show up too late, they've been waiting and dinner's been waiting. And I'm, hesitate to say anything because obviously people come to our house, or maybe they stay longer than we are wanting them to stay. And I don't want anyone, please, no one who has been to my house think that I'm talking about you, except my mother-in-law, and she's gone now. So she won't hear me say this. And anyway, we laughed about it later. So just be respectful of other people's time.
Can I
So,
insert a little, you're talking about like hospitality type situations that I've been guilty of poor manners without realizing it. And
mhm.
I was never taught about um, putting your feet on the furniture.
Yeah.
And I would never do that in somebody else's house with shoes on. I would never even do that barefooted. You know, if I've been wearing sandals, I would never slip off my sandals and put my feet up on somebody's couch because my feet could be dirty because I was wearing sandals. But if I'm staying with somebody, you know, and we've all changed clothes and we're relaxing in the evening and I've got on my sweats and fuzzy socks, I don't think anything of it. You know,
Yeah.
I just because I'm comfortable. It is hard for me to be comfortable with my feet on the floor. I always
Mm,
put my feet up on the chair or the couch right next to me. And it was not that long ago that I learned that that's considered poor manners in somebody else's house. And I was just mortified because I thought, oh, how many people's homes have I been in that I just did that without thinking about it, you know, just automatically hunkered down on their couch, you know. And then the other one was taking my shoes off to go into somebody's house because some people
yeah.
consider that poor manners to walk in and keep your shoes on. And I wasn't raised that way and we didn't raise our boys that way. It just never even dawned on me. I mean, if your shoes are dirty, of course, slip them off at the
Sure.
door or outside the door, but so that's another thing that I didn't learn about until a few years ago that some people consider that bad manners. So I always look around to see when I walk into somebody else's house for the first time, are they wearing shoes? Do they have shoes lined up by the door? Do they, you know, do I need to slip my shoes off or
Mhm. I feel like you are more aware of manners than I am. I mean, there's just been things that you've said over the years that make me think, oh, yeah, that's true. I haven't thought about that. And I guess I was raised in a barn more than you were, maybe. I don't know. But my main thing is I want people to be comfortable in my home. And I I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm judging anything that they're doing or not doing. So I would so much rather someone open the cabinet door and get a glass out than for them to think that I'm sitting there horrified that they're opening my cabinet. I want people to feel at home in my house.
Mhm. I
So,
do too. And there are things that I might teach my own family or expectations that I have my own family that I would never put on anybody else. You know,
exactly.
I feel like even if we did have a no shoes policy, which we don't, but even if we did, I wouldn't care if somebody
Right.
walked in here with their shoes on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think both of us are just saying we don't want anybody to think that we're being harsh about anything. We just wanted to kind of discuss some things that we've been taught. And I don't know, do you have anything else you want to share about that?
I don't think so.
I asked John.
You've covered the thing. I jotted down a list, and I think you've mentioned all of them.
Okay, I talk too much, and that's also rude. When you get nervous sometimes and you find yourself blah 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 blah, and then you look back on it and you're embarrassed. Yeah, well, it's unintentional rudeness anyway on my part when I talk too much. So I asked John, what are your top five, or maybe you want to say bottom five things that bother you in manners? And he gave me several. The first one is people who are ungrateful, people who are not present.
Mm,
And I didn't even write that one down, but I thought that's so true. When you're trying to talk to them and they're whipping out their phone and, looking around, or they're just not present and they're not listening to you. It's just they expect you to listen to them, but they don't, they're not listening to you. Someone who's unfriendly or unwelcoming,
mm.
and someone who just doesn't offer to help. But then he said, here's the bonus one. He said belching, and then he said another word that he never says because John, he's not boorish and unrefined, but he said it, and I'm not going to say it on here, but bodily noises. Nobody needs to hear that. That's private. So I am so thankful he's that way because
Mm.
I don't enjoy anybody's bodily noises either. So that kind of goes without saying. Let don't let that happen. I almost said it differently, but I almost said don't let those go. So I said it anyway.
I mean, when you're in somebody else's house with other people or at the table, or I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes you have to
You
just
do?
just clarify. No, I don't.
Okay. Whew, man, I'm glad because I don't either. And I don't know if I could be friends with somebody that does.
Oh, this digressed.
It does. Okay. What about you? Anything else?
Well, so Neil didn't really want to play. Told him that you I told him that you asked John and you wanted him to give his top five, and I wrote down what he said. He said, I don't know because I'm probably one of the leading bad manners people.
Oh, no, he's not.
He's so his first one was people interrupting when others are talking, and then he said, "But I'm probably one of the worst offenders." Gossip,
Yeah.
he hates that,
Mhm.
and he thinks
I
that's
don't think of that as being a manner, but it is.
yeah.
Really
Well, I
is.
feel like a lot of the things that he mentioned, three of them I didn't think of as manners, but
Mhm.
they really are poor manners. So
Yeah.
gossip and then sarcasm,
Mhm.
because he said so often it swings and misses, and it's
Yeah.
just bad form. Being late, and then the last one was bullying. And what he explained, what he meant by that is people who come across harsh and rough. And he said sometimes they seem that way, and you can get to know them better, and you find out that's not who they really are. But then there are some that getting to know them just amplifies the rudeness. So that
Mhm.
was his list.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he played well. Well, I think it'll be fun maybe next week in the group to have a little discussion about some things that we've missed because I know that's not an exhaustive list. There's plenty of other things, but just being kind in how we feel about people and how we think about them and not being harsh in our judgment is important. So that's not what this is about. This is just kind of to discuss. So I think we discussed, or
Yeah,
maybe
and
that's
I think there needs to be a balance,
mm,
and we do want to be aware of the culture that we do live in as far as expectations and manners, and even if you don't understand why it's there, it's just courtesy, it's politeness, it's awareness, as you say. But there does need to be a balance. I think if you realize the intent behind it is thoughtfulness, always be considerate,
mm,
try your best to be thoughtful. Obviously, we're all going to do things unintentionally that other people might consider rude or bad manners that never would have crossed our minds.
yeah,
And so we need to be aware of that too. That's the balance, like you were saying, is you might see somebody and maybe they're in a different generation than you are. Maybe they're a lot younger than you or they're a lot older than you and they do things differently or have expectations and you don't get it.
right,
But some people just, everybody thinks things differently. But at bottom line is if we're all trying to be thoughtful and aware and considerate, then we'll receive a lot more grace when we commit a poor manner without realizing it.
right, yeah, yeah. When we think consider someone as more important than ourselves,
Mhm.
then it won't be a problem either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, do you know what I heard about?
What'd you hear?
I heard about a whole bunch of Christians in the Cincinnati area. You remember last week when I was trying to tell you of something that Tila Wren told me, and then I couldn't say it because I hadn't read the whole thing?
Mhm.
This is what I heard about last week. So she has a friend, her name is Christy Franklin, and Christy has a daughter whose son, so it's Christy's grandson, has been in the hospital in Nashville, and they have transferred this child to Cincinnati Children's. And she was concerned about her daughter not having support because Christy is going through her own cancer journey. And so she just put out there in some different ministers' wives groups that her daughter's going to be in Cincinnati with a child in the hospital. The dad can't be there; he's having to work. And so, could she get some names maybe to have so she would have some support? And she said later on, after this is like 3 days later, she said, I have received so many messages, comments, and offers of help for her daughter, Allie, that she wanted to cry. She posted in three different church groups so that she might find one or two people. And instead, she said, my faith was too small. She said, so many congregations announced the need for prayers. People started stalking their Facebook pages, and they've already sent messages and offers of help and support and food and visits and all of those things. And so I think, you know,
Mm.
we do have such a community of support and people who will help when we need help. And so she was just letting me know that that was something good that happened, and I was proud to hear about that.
God's people are so good about that, showing up. And when you're the one in the situation, you've got a loved one in trouble, and for whatever reason, you can't get there and you can't meet that need, and they just
Yep.
jump right in and take care of it more than you expected. It's just beautiful, and I love
Yep.
that.
Yep. And you and I have both been in that situation, so it's very beneficial.
Guess what I heard?
What did you hear?
I have a couple of similar ones. When we were, we've been at this meeting all week, so we were not at Cumberland Trace on Sunday. Well, apparently there's a elementary school right next to our new building, Cumberland Trace Elementary.
Mhm.
And they had put up a sign-up sheet for people to sort of adopt a student by buying them their book bag. And they had all these different, it would be like a grade and a sex, fifth grade boy, fifth grade girl, whatever. This whole list of them that they announced that morning, and it filled up like that.
Mhm.
So our one of our elders sent us a picture because we weren't even there for it of these long lists with them names all the way filled up, and they said that there were people lined up like waiting.
Mhm.
Um, as they were leaving, they saw people all lined up, and it was just filled up in no time. So I love the generosity and the eagerness to help, and I love the opportunity to be involved in the school right next to us.
Yeah,
To show them,
in the neighborhood. Mhm.
yeah, that people are there that care and want to be a help in whatever way they can. So I thought that was great. But the other one I received from Jill Jackson. Now I know two Jill Jacksons. So this is not the one married to Jason Jackson,
Okay.
like Jason Jackson's Wayne Jackson's son.
Mhm.
This is Jill Herman Jackson. So you'll know her from Cold Harbor, Ron and Charlene Herman's daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so she sent me, she said, I have some good gossip for you. And it involves Dean Miller, and he goes around holding those widowhood workshops, which let me just say are amazing. I highly
Yeah.
recommend them for everybody, not just widows. But apparently, their congregation, which I believe is the Laverne Church of Christ in Laverne, Tennessee, has it every year.
Mhm.
Because this is what she said. The annual widowhood retreat was held at our congregation this past weekend. One sister, Sandy Bridge, was scheduled to come but had to cancel because her oldest daughter, Melissa, was just put under hospice care and just moved into her home. Well, Brother Dean Miller told the widows this weekend the situation, and they ended up raising $2,654 to send down to Sandy and her family. After
Wow.
the retreat, Dean himself drove 525 miles from Villa Rica, Georgia, down to Bradenton, Florida on Monday, July 22nd, to personally deliver the money to Sandy Bridge and her daughter. I was blown away by what Dean and the other widows have done to support this hurting sister.
Oh, man. Makes you
Isn't
want
that
to cry.
sweet?
I'm not surprised at all about that. Sounds exactly like something Dean Miller would do.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. I love that. We got good gossip.
It was great. Yeah.
Keep
It gave me
sending.
goosebumps to read about it. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love being able to share things like that. So thanks for those who sent us the good gossip and keep it up.
Yes.
Well, I think we probably went on for a whole lot longer than I hoped. I have no idea what time we started.
And 3 hours.
Really? Hey, it could have been 3 hours and it wasn't 3 hours. Maybe an hour and a half. I don't know. Anyway, it's been a good discussion. It's been fun. It's been illuminating and all that. So I hope it'll be helpful. That's what we hope that it'll be helpful. Get discussions going. Just make us
Mhm.
think about things from a spiritual perspective and a common sense perspective. So thanks for always having good perspectives.
And I don't think you talk too much, and you're not rude in that way,
Okay.
for the
Thanks
record.
for being my friend. All right. It's good, been good talking to you. I love you. And until next time.
Keep looking up. Love